Welcome to this sacred journey through one of the most powerful and profound books in the Bible, the Book of Joshua. Tonight, as your eyes grow heavy and your thoughts begin to slow, we invite you to drift gently into rest while listening to the story of a nation stepping into destiny, guided not by swords alone, but by the unwavering hand of God. In this beautifully layered book of 24 chapters, you will hear how Israel took possession of the land of Canaan, fulfilling a promise made centuries earlier. It is not just a tale of conquest, it's a testament of faith, obedience, unity, and divine guidance. Under the leadership of Joshua, the humble and strong successor of Moses, Israel learns the hard truths about trust, loyalty, and the cost of disobedience. But this is more than a history lesson. It's a spiritual mirror asking us all, how do we walk in faith when the way is uncertain? What does it mean to conquer not just land, but fear, doubt, and division? As you listen, you'll find ancient battles wrapped in divine instruction. You'll hear the solemn renewal of a covenant, the quiet distribution of a promised land, and moments when Israel's future hung in the balance, all whispered in the night like lullabies of legacy. This isn't just a story of the past. This is a message for every soul longing for direction, peace, and the courage to step into God's promise, even in the dark. And if your heart finds rest here tonight, if your soul feels a little more anchored than before, then don't forget to subscribe, not just with a tap, but with intent. Join a growing family of quiet seekers, night readers, and gentle dreamers. Click that bell, so whenever the word whispers, you'll be the first to hear now. Take a deep breath, let the noise of the day fade away, and let the ancient voice of Scripture carry you across the Jordan into a land not just promised, but prepared. This is the Book of Joshua, and this is your time to rest. Chapter 1. After Moses, the servant of the Lord, had died, the Lord spoke to Moses' aide, Joshua, son of Nun, saying, "Moses, my servant, is dead. So now, you and all the people with you, prepare to cross the Jordan into the land that I am giving to the Israelites. Every place where you set foot I have given you, as I promised Moses, all the land of the Hittites, from the wilderness and Lebanon in the east to the great river Euphrates, and west to the great sea, will be your territory. No one will be able to withstand you as long as you live. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will not leave you, nor forsake you. Be strong and steadfast, so that you may give this people possession of the land I swore to their ancestors I would give them. Only be strong and steadfast, being careful to observe the entire law that Moses, my servant, gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, so that you may succeed wherever you go. Do not let this book of the law depart from your lips. Recite it day and night, so that you may carefully observe all that is written in it. Then you will attain your goal and succeed. I command you, be strong and steadfast. Do not fear or be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." Then Joshua commanded the officers of the people, "Go through the camp and instruct the people. Prepare your provisions, for in 3 days you will cross the Jordan here, to go in and take possession of the land the Lord your God is giving you as your inheritance." Joshua also addressed the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, saying, "Remember what Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you when he said, the Lord your God is giving you rest and will give you this land. Your wives, your children, and your livestock may remain in the land Moses gave you on this side of the Jordan. But all your warriors must cross over, armed, ahead of your fellow Israelites, and help them until the Lord has given them rest, as he has done for you, and they too have taken possession of the land the Lord your God is giving them. Afterward, you may return and occupy your own land, which Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you east of the Jordan. They answered Joshua, "We will do everything you have commanded us, and we will go wherever you send us. Just as we fully obeyed Moses, we will obey you. Only may the Lord your God be with you, as he was with Moses. Anyone who rebels against your word and does not obey your commands shall be put to death. Only be strong and steadfast." Chapter 2. Then Joshua, son of Nun, secretly sent out 2 spies from Shittim, saying, "Go, reconnoiter the land and Jericho." When the 2 reached Jericho, they went into the house of a prostitute named Rahab, where they lodged. But a report was brought to the king of Jericho. "Some men came here last night, Israelites, to spy out the land." So the king of Jericho sent Rahab the order, "Bring out the men who have come to you and entered your house, for they have come to spy out the entire land." The woman had taken the 2 men and hidden them, so she said, "True, the men you speak of came to me, but I did not know where they came from. At dark, when it was time to close the gate, they left, and I do not know where they went. You will have to pursue them quickly to overtake them." Now she had led them to the roof and hidden them among her stalks of flax spread out there. But the pursuers set out along the way to the fords of the Jordan. As soon as they had left to pursue them, the gate was shut. Rahab went up to them on the roof and said, "I know that the Lord has given you the land, that a dread of you has come upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land tremble with fear because of you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the waters of the Red Sea before you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to Sihon and Og, the 2 kings of the Amorites beyond the Jordan, whom you destroyed under the ban. We heard, and our hearts melted within us. Everyone is utterly dispirited because of you, since the Lord your God is God in heaven above and on earth below. Now then, swear to me by the Lord that, since I am showing kindness to you, you in turn will show kindness to my family. Give me a reliable sign that you will allow my father and mother, brothers and sisters, and my whole family to live, and that you will deliver us from death." "We pledge our lives for yours," they answered her. "If you do not betray our mission, we will be faithful in showing kindness to you when the Lord gives us the land." Then she let them down through the window with a rope, for she lived in a house built into the city wall. "Go up into the hill country," she said, "that your pursuers may not come upon you. Hide there for 3 days until they return. Then you may go on your way." They answered her, "We are free of this oath that you made us take, unless, when we come into the land, you tie this scarlet cord in the window through which you are letting us down. Gather your father and mother, your brothers, and all your family into your house. Should any of them pass outside the doors of your house, their blood will be on their own heads, and we will be guiltless. But if anyone in your house is harmed, their blood will be on our heads. If, however, you betray our mission, we will be free of the oath you have made us take." "Let it be as you say," she replied, and sent them away. When they were gone, she tied the scarlet cord in the window. They went up into the hill country, where they stayed 3 days, until their pursuers, who had sought them all along the road without finding them, returned. Then the two came back, down from the hills, crossed the Jordan to Joshua, son of Nun, and told him all that had happened to them. They assured Joshua, "The Lord has given all this land into our power. Indeed, all the inhabitants of the land tremble with fear because of us." Chapter 3. Early the next morning, Joshua and all the Israelites moved from Shittim and came to the Jordan, where they stayed before crossing over. 3 days later, the officers went through the camp and issued these commands to the people. "When you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, which the Levitical priests will carry, you must break camp and follow it, that you may know the way to take, for you have not gone over this road before. But let there be a space of 2,000 cubits between you and the ark. Do not come nearer to it." Joshua also said to the people, "Sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will perform wonders among you." And he told the priests, "Take up the ark of the covenant and cross ahead of the people." So they took up the ark of the covenant and went before the people. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Today I will begin to exalt you in the sight of all Israel, that they may know that as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. Now command the priests carrying the ark of the covenant, when you come to the edge of the waters of the Jordan, there take your stand." So Joshua said to the Israelites, "Come here and listen to the words of the Lord your God." He continued, "By this you will know that there is a living God in your midst. He will certainly dispossess before you the Canaanites, Hittites, Hivites, Perizzites, Girgashites, Amorites, and Jebusites. The ark of the covenant of the Lord of the whole earth will cross the Jordan before you. Now choose 12 men, one from each of the tribes of Israel. When the soles of the feet of the priests carrying the ark of the Lord of the whole earth, touch the waters of the Jordan, it will cease to flow. The water flowing down from upstream will halt in a single heap. The people set out from their tents to cross the Jordan, with the priests carrying the ark of the covenant ahead of them. When those bearing the ark came to the Jordan, and the feet of the priests bearing the ark were immersed in the waters of the Jordan, which overflows all its banks during the entire season of the harvest, the waters flowing from upstream halted, standing up in a single heap for a very great distance from Adam, a city in the direction of Zarethan. Those flowing downstream toward the salt sea of the Arabah disappeared entirely. Thus the people crossed over opposite Jericho. The priests, carrying the ark of the covenant of the Lord, stood on dry ground in the Jordan riverbed, while all Israel crossed on dry ground until the whole nation had completed the crossing of the Jordan. Chapter 4. After the entire nation had completed the crossing of the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, "Choose 12 men from the people, one from each tribe, and command them. Take up 12 stones from this spot in the Jordan riverbed where the priests have been standing. Carry them over with you, and place them where you are to stay tonight." Summoning the 12 men he had selected from among the Israelites, one from each tribe, Joshua said to them, "Go to the Jordan riverbed in front of the ark of the Lord your God. Lift to your shoulders 1 stone apiece, so that they will equal in number the tribes of the Israelites. In the future, these are to be a sign among you. When your children ask you, 'What do these stones mean to you?' you shall answer them, 'The waters of the Jordan ceased to flow before the ark of the covenant of the Lord when it crossed the Jordan. Thus these stones are to serve as a perpetual memorial to the Israelites. The 12 Israelites did as Joshua had commanded. They took up 12 stones from the Jordan riverbed, as the Lord had instructed Joshua, one for each of the tribes of the Israelites. They carried them along to the campsite, and there they placed them. Joshua also set up 12 stones that had been in the Jordan riverbed on the spot where the priests stood, who were carrying the Ark of the Covenant. They are there to this day. The priests carrying the Ark remained standing in the Jordan riverbed until everything had been done that the Lord had commanded Joshua to tell the people, just as Moses had instructed him. The people crossed over quickly, and when all the people had finished crossing, the Ark of the Lord and the priests also crossed, going before the people. The Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, armed for battle, led the Israelites, as Moses had directed. About 40,000 troops, prepared for war, crossed over before the Lord to the plains of Jericho. That day the Lord exalted Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they revered him throughout his life, just as they had revered Moses. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Command the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant to come up from the Jordan." So Joshua commanded them, "Come up from the Jordan." When the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord came up from the Jordan riverbed, and as the soles of their feet touched dry ground, the waters of the Jordan resumed their course and overflowed all its banks as before. The people came up from the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month and camped in Gilgal on the eastern border of Jericho. At Gilgal, Joshua set up the 12 stones they had taken from the Jordan and said to the Israelites, "In the future, when your children ask their parents, 'What do these stones mean?' you shall inform them, 'Israel crossed the Jordan here on dry ground. For the Lord your God dried up the waters of the Jordan before you until you had crossed over, just as the Lord your God did at the Red Sea, drying it up before us, until we had crossed over. He did this so that all the peoples of the earth might know that the hand of the Lord is mighty, and that you may always fear the Lord your God." Chapter 5. When all the kings of the Amorites west of the Jordan and all the kings of the Canaanites near the sea heard that the Lord had dried up the waters of the Jordan before the Israelites until they had crossed over, their hearts melted, and they were utterly dispirited because of the Israelites. On this occasion, the Lord said to Joshua, "Make flint knives and circumcise the Israelites a second time." So Joshua made flint knives and circumcised the Israelites at Gibeath. This was the reason for the circumcision. All the men who had come out of Egypt, every male of military age, had died in the wilderness during the journey after their departure from Egypt. Though all the men who came out were circumcised, none of those born in the wilderness during the journey had been circumcised. The Israelites wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, until all the warriors who had come out of Egypt had perished, because they had not listened to the voice of the Lord. The Lord had sworn that they would not see the land. He had promised to their ancestors a land flowing with milk and honey. It was their children, whom the Lord raised up in their place, that Joshua circumcised, for they had not been circumcised along the way. When the circumcision of the entire nation was complete, they remained in the camp until they had recovered. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Today I have removed from you the reproach of Egypt." Therefore the place is called Gilgal to this day. While the Israelites were encamped at Gilgal on the plains of Jericho, they celebrated the Passover on the evening of the 14th day of the month. The next day they ate the produce of the land, unleavened bread and roasted grain. That same day, after they had eaten the produce of the land, the manna ceased. There was no longer manna for the Israelites. That year they ate of the yield of the land of Canaan. While Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in hand. Joshua approached him and asked, "Are you one of us or one of our enemies?" The man replied, "Neither. I am the commander of the army of the Lord, and now I have come." Then Joshua fell face down in reverence and asked him, "What message does my Lord have for his servant?" The commander of the army of the Lord said to Joshua, "Remove your sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so. Chapter 6. Now Jericho was in a state of siege because of the presence of the Israelites. No one went out, and no one came in. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "I have delivered Jericho, its king, and its warriors into your hands. Have all your soldiers march around the city once a day for 6 days. 7 priests shall carry ram's horns ahead of the ark. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times, and have the priests blow the horns. When they give a long blast, and you hear the sound, all the people shall give a loud shout. The wall of the city will collapse, and the people shall storm it straight ahead." Joshua, son of Nun, summoned the priests and said to them, "Take up the ark of the covenant, and have 7 priests carry ram's horns in front of it." He also ordered the people, "Advance and march around the city, with the armed guard going ahead of the ark of the Lord." When Joshua had spoken, the 7 priests carrying the ram's horns went forward, blowing their horns before the Lord, while the ark of the covenant followed them. The armed guard marched ahead of the priests who were blowing the horns, and the rear guard followed the ark. The horns were blown continuously as they marched. But Joshua had commanded the people, "Do not shout or make a sound until the moment I tell you to shout. Then you must shout." So the ark of the Lord was carried around the city once, and afterward they returned to camp and spent the night there. Early the next morning, Joshua had the priests again take up the ark of the Lord. The 7 priests, bearing the ram's horns, went forward, blowing their horns as they marched before the ark. The armed men went ahead of them, and the rear guard followed, with the horns sounding continually. On the 2nd day, they again circled the city once and returned to camp. They did this for 6 days. On the 7th day, they rose at daybreak and marched around the city 7 times in the same manner. Only on that day they marched around it 7 times. On the 7th time around, as the priests blew the horns, Joshua said to the people, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city. The city and everything in it is under the ban. Only Rahab, the prostitute, and all who are in her house are to be spared, because she hid the messengers we sent. But be careful not to take anything under the ban. If you do, you will bring disaster on the camp of Israel. All the silver, gold, and articles of bronze and iron are sacred to the Lord and must go into his treasury." When the horns sounded, the people shouted loudly. As soon as they heard the sound of the horn and raised their shout, the wall collapsed. Everyone charged straight in, and they captured the city. They devoted the city to destruction, putting To the sword all living things, men and women, young and old, as well as oxen, sheep, and donkeys, to the 2 men who had spied out the land. Joshua said, "Go into the house of the woman and bring her out, along with all who belong to her, as you promised her." So the young men went and brought out Rahab, her father, mother, brothers, and all her family. They brought out her whole household and placed them outside the camp of Israel. Then they burned the city and everything in it, but the silver, gold, and the articles of bronze and iron they put into the treasury of the Lord's house. Because Rahab had hidden the men Joshua had sent to spy on Jericho, Joshua spared her, along with her family, and they have lived among the Israelites to this day. On that occasion Joshua pronounced this solemn oath, "Cursed before the Lord is the man who tries to rebuild this city, Jericho. At the cost of his firstborn he will lay its foundation. At the cost of his youngest he will set up its gates." So the Lord was with Joshua, and his fame spread throughout the land. Chapter 7. But the Israelites acted treacherously regarding the ban. For Achan, son of Carmi, son of Zabdi, son of Zerah, from the tribe of Judah, took goods that were under the ban, and the Lord's anger flared up against Israel. Joshua then sent men from Jericho to Ai, a town near Beth-Ovian east of Bethel, instructing them to go and scout the land. When the men returned, they advised Joshua not to send the entire army, suggesting that 2,000 or 3,000 men would be sufficient to attack Ai, as the enemy there was few in number. So about 3,000 soldiers attacked Ai, but they were routed by the defenders. About 36 Israelites were killed, and the rest were pursued from the city gate to Shebarim, and struck down on the slopes. The people's courage melted away like water. Joshua and the elders of Israel tore their garments and fell face down before the ark of the Lord until evening, throwing dust on their heads. Joshua prayed, "Alas, Lord God, why did you bring this people across the Jordan at all, only to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites to be destroyed? If only we had been content to stay on the other side of the Jordan. Lord, what can I say now that Israel has fled from its enemies? The Canaanites and all the other people of the land will hear of this. They will surround us and wipe out our name from the earth. What then will you do for your great name?" The Lord said to Joshua, "Stand up. Why are you lying on your face? Israel has sinned. They have broken the covenant I commanded them, taken goods under the ban, stolen and lied, and hidden them among their own belongings. This is why the Israelites cannot stand against their enemies. They turn their backs and run, because they themselves are under the ban. I will not remain with you unless you remove the banned things from among you. Go and sanctify the people. Tell them, sanctify yourselves for tomorrow, for this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. That which is banned is in your midst, Israel. You cannot stand up to your enemies until you remove it. In the morning, present yourselves tribe by tribe. The tribe the Lord selects will come forward by clans, then by families, and finally man by man. Whoever is caught with the banned items will be destroyed by fire, along with all that he owns, because he has violated the Lord's covenant and committed a disgraceful act in Israel. Early the next morning, Joshua had Israel come forward, tribe by tribe, and the tribe of Judah was selected. Then the clans of Judah came forward, and the clan of Zerah was chosen. From the clan of Zerah, the family of Zabdi was chosen, And from that family, Achan, son of Carmi, son of Zabdi, son of Zerah, was identified. Joshua said to Achan, my son, give glory to the Lord, the God of Israel, and confess. Tell me what you have done. Do not hide it from me, Achan answered. It is true, I have sinned against the Lord, the God of Israel, among the spoils. I saw a beautiful Babylonian robe, 200 shekels of silver, and a bar of gold weighing 50 shekels. I coveted them and took them. They are hidden in the ground inside my tent, with the silver underneath. Joshua sent messengers who ran to the tent. They found the items hidden there, just as Achan had said, and brought them to Joshua and all the Israelites. They laid them out before the Lord. Then Joshua, together with all Israel, took Achan along with the silver, the robe, the gold bar, his sons and daughters, his oxen, donkeys, sheep, tent, and all his possessions, led them to the valley of Achor. Joshua said, why have you brought this trouble on us? The Lord will bring trouble on you today. And all Israel stoned him. They burned them and then stoned them. Over Achan they raised a great heap of stones, which remains to this day. Then the Lord turned from his fierce anger. That is why the place has been called the Valley of Achor to this day. Chapter 8. The Lord then said to Joshua, do not be afraid or dismayed. Take all the army with you and prepare to attack Ai. I have delivered the king of Ai into your hands, along with his people, his city, and his land. Do to Ai and its king, just as you did to Jericho and its king Fit this time, you may take the spoil and the livestock as plunder. Set an ambush behind the city. So Joshua and all his soldiers prepared to attack Ai. He selected 30,000 mighty warriors and sent them off by night with these orders. See that you position yourselves in ambush behind the city. Don't go too far from it, and be ready. The rest of the people and I will approach the city. When they come out against us, as they did before, we will flee from them. They will pursue us until they've left the city behind, thinking we are running away as we did the last time. Then you will rise from your hiding place and take the city. The Lord your God will deliver it into your hands. Once you've taken the city, set it on fire as the Lord has commanded. These are my instructions to you. Joshua sent them off, and they went to the ambush site west of Ai, near Bethel. Joshua, however, spent that night with the rest of the army. Early the next morning, he mustered the troops and led them up toward Ai, accompanied by the elders of Israel. The entire force took position facing Ai north of the city, with a ravine separating them from it. He then took about 5,000 men and set them in ambush between Bethel and Ai to the west. So they positioned both the main force to the north and the ambush to the west. Joshua spent that night in the valley. At daybreak, the king of Ai saw them and quickly led his army out to fight Israel at the edge of the Arabah. He had no idea an ambush lay hidden behind his city. Joshua and the main body of Israel pretended to be defeated and fled toward the wilderness. Every man in it was summoned to pursue them, and they chased after Joshua, abandoning the city completely. Not a single soldier remained in Ai or Bethel. They had all gone in pursuit, leaving the gates wide open. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Stretch out the javelin in your hand toward Ai, for I will deliver it into your power." Joshua raised his javelin toward the city, and the men lying in ambush sprang from their hiding places. They rushed the city, captured it, and immediately set it ablaze. When the army of Ai looked back, they saw smoke rising to the sky. Realizing their escape was cut off, they were trapped. Israel had stopped fleeing and turned back to attack. Joshua and the main force struck the men of Ai from the front, while those who had taken the city came out to attack from behind. Surrounded on both sides, the army of Ai was cut down. None escaped or survived except the king, who was captured alive and brought to Joshua. After Israel finished killing all who had pursued them into the wilderness, they returned to Ai and struck down everyone left in the city. That day, 12,000 men and women fell, the entire population of Ai. Joshua did not lower his javelin until every inhabitant of Ai had been destroyed. However, the Israelites took the livestock and the city's spoils for themselves, just as the Lord had commanded Joshua. Ai was burned and reduced to a permanent heap of ruins, still visible to this day. Joshua hanged the king of Ai on a tree and left his body there until evening. At sunset, he ordered the body taken down and thrown at the entrance of the city gate. A great heap of stones was piled over it, and it remains there to this day. Chapter 9. When news reached all the kings west of the Jordan, in the hill country, the western foothills, and all along the coast of the Great Sea, as far as Lebanon, the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, they joined together to form an alliance to wage war against Joshua and Israel. But the inhabitants of Gibeon, having heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai, devised a clever plan. They gathered worn-out sacks for their donkeys, old and mended wineskins, tattered sandals, and shabby clothes. All the bread they carried was dry and crumbling. With these props, they went to Joshua at the camp in Gilgal and said to him and the Israelites, "We have come from a distant land. Now make a covenant with us." But the Israelites were skeptical and replied, "Perhaps you live near us. How can we make a treaty with people who might be our neighbors?" They answered, "We are your servants." Joshua questioned them, "Who are you? Where do you come from?" They replied, "We come from a very distant land, drawn by the fame of the Lord your God. We have heard of all he did in Egypt, and to the 2 kings of the Amorites, east of the Jordan Sea, king of Heshbon, and Og, king of Bashan, who lived in Ashur. Our elders and all the people of our land told us to gather supplies and come meet you, and to say, 'We are your servants. Make a covenant with us.' Look at our bread. It was warm when we packed it, but now it is dry and moldy. These wines were new when we filled them, but now they are cracked. And look at our clothes and sandals. They are worn out from the long journey." The Israelite leaders sampled their provisions, but they did not consult the Lord. So Joshua made a peace treaty with them to let them live. And the leaders of the assembly ratified it with an oath. 3 days after making the treaty, the Israelites learned that the Gibeonites were actually neighbors, living near them. On the 3rd day, they reached the Gibeonite cities. Gibeon, Shephra, Beeroth, and Kiriath Jearim did not attack them because of the oath the leaders had sworn by the Lord, the God of Israel. The entire community grumbled against the leaders, but the leaders explained, "We gave them our oath by the Lord, the God of Israel. We cannot touch them now. Let them live, so that we will not bring wrath upon ourselves for breaking the oath." And the leaders declared, "Let them live, but they will become woodcutters and water carriers for the entire community." So the community did as the leaders instructed. Then Joshua summoned the Gibeonites and said, "Why did you deceive us by claiming to be from a distant land when you actually live among us? Because of this, you are now under a curse. You will never cease to serve as woodcutters and water carriers for the house of my God." They answered, "We did it because we were clearly told that the Lord your God commanded his servant Moses to give you the entire land and destroy all its inhabitants. We feared for our lives, and that is why we acted this way. Now we are in your hands. Do to us whatever seems good and right to you." So Joshua spared them from death, but made them servants woodcutters and water carriers for the community and for the altar of the Lord, in the place the Lord would choose, and that is what they remain to this day. Chapter 10. When Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, heard that Joshua had captured Ai and put it under the ban, doing to its king as he had done to the king of Jericho, and that the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel and were living among them, he was filled with fear. Gibeon was a great city, like one of the royal cities greater, even than Ai, and all its men were warriors. So Adonizedek sent word to Hoam, king of Hebron, Piram, king of Jarmuth, Japhia, king of Lachish, and Dobir, king of Eglon, saying, "Come and help me attack Gibeon, for it has made peace with Joshua and the Israelites." The 5 Amorite kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon joined forces, gathered their armies, and marched against Gibeon to wage war. In response, the Gibeonites sent a message to Joshua at the camp in Gilgal, "Do not abandon your servants. Come quickly and save us. All the Amorite kings from the hill country have united against us." So Joshua marched up from Gilgal with all his army and best warriors. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not fear them, for I have delivered them into your hands. Not one of them will be able to stand against you." After an all-night march from Gilgal, Joshua launched a surprise attack. The Lord threw the enemy into confusion before Israel, and the Israelites struck them with a great blow. At Gibeon, they chased them along the road to Beth-horon, striking them down as far as Azekah and Makkedah. As the enemies fled down the slopes of Beth-horon, the Lord hurled large hailstones from the sky all the way to Azekah, killing more men with the hail than the Israelites had slain with the sword. During the battle, when the Lord handed over the Amorites to Israel, Joshua prayed to the Lord in the presence of the people, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and you, moon, over the valley of Ajalon." And the sun stood still, and the moon stopped, until the nation had taken vengeance on its enemies. This event is recorded in the book of Joshua. The sun halted in the middle of the sky and delayed, setting for about a full day. There has never been a day like it before or since, when the Lord obeyed the voice of a man. Truly, the Lord fought for Israel. Then Joshua and all Israel returned to the camp at Gilgal. Meanwhile, the 5 kings had fled and hidden in a cave at Makkedah. When Joshua was informed, he ordered large stones rolled against the mouth of the cave and guards stationed to keep watch. "But don't stay there," he said. "Pursue your enemies and strike them from the rear. Don't let them reach their fortified cities, for the Lord your God has handed them over to you." After the Israelites had finished dealing a great blow, and the survivors had fled into the fortified cities, all the troops returned safely to Joshua at the camp in Makkedah. No one dared to utter a word against Israel. Then Joshua ordered the cave opened, and the 5 kings brought out to him, the kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon. He summoned all the soldiers and commanders, and said, "Come, put your feet on the necks of these kings." They came forward and did so. Joshua told them, "Do not be afraid or discouraged. Be strong and courageous, for this is what the Lord will do to all the enemies you fight." Then Joshua struck down the kings and killed them. He had them hung on 5 trees until evening. At sunset, he ordered them taken down and thrown back into the cave where they had hidden. Large stones were placed over the entrance, and they remain there to this day. Joshua then captured Makkedah and its king, putting the city and everyone in it under the ban, leaving no survivors, just as he had done to the king of Jericho. From Makkedah, Joshua moved against Libnah and attacked it. The Lord delivered Libnah and its king into Israel's hands. Joshua put every person in it to the sword, leaving no survivors. From Libnah they marched on to Lachish. They set up camp and attacked, capturing it on the 2nd day. Everyone was put to the sword, as in Libnah. When Horam, king of Gezer, came to help Lachish, Joshua struck him and his people down as well, leaving no survivors. From Lachish, the Israelites moved on to Eglon, set up camp, and attacked. They captured it in a single day, killing everyone there, just as they had done at Lachish. Then they went up to Hebron and attacked it, capturing it and all its surrounding towns. They killed its king and everyone in it, just as they had done at Eglon, leaving no survivors. Finally, Joshua and all Israel turned back to Dobir and attacked it, capturing the city, its king, and surrounding towns. They killed everyone and left no survivors, treating Dobir and its king as they had done to Hebron and Lenish. So Joshua conquered the entire land, the hill country, the Negeb, the western foothills, and the mountain slopes. He left no survivors, destroying everything that breathed, as the Lord, the God of Israel, had commanded. Joshua subdued the region from Kadesh Barnea to Gaza, and from the entire land of Goshen to Gibeon. He captured all these kings and their lands in one campaign, because the Lord, the God of Israel, fought for Israel. Then Joshua and all Israel returned to the camp at Gilgal. Chapter 11. When Jabin, king of Hazor, learned of Israel's victories, he sent messages to Jababu, king of Madon, to the king of Shimron, to the king of Akshaph, and to the northern kings in the mountain regions and in the Arabot near Chinneroth, in the lowlands and in the region of Naphthaddor to the west. These included Canaanites from both east and west, as well as Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, and Jebusites from the hill country, and Hivites living at the foot of Mount Hermon in the land of Mizpah. They all came out with their armies of vast multitude, as numerous as the sand on the seashore. They brought with them many horses and chariots. These kings joined forces and camped together at the waters of Merom, prepared to wage war against Israel. But the Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them. By this time tomorrow I will hand them all over to Israel, slain. You must hamstring their horses and burn their chariots." So Joshua and his entire army surprised them at the waters of Merom and launched a sudden attack. The Lord delivered them into Israel's hands. They pursued them all the way to Greater Sidon, to Misrephathaim, and eastward to the valley of Mespeh, striking them down until none were left. Joshua did exactly as the Lord had commanded He hamstrung their horses and burned their chariots. Then Joshua turned back and captured Hazor. He struck down its king with the sword, for Hazor had formerly been the head of all those kingdoms. Every person in Hazor was put to the sword, and the city itself was burned to the ground. Joshua captured all the cities of those kings and put them and their inhabitants under the ban, destroying them completely, just as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded. However, Israel did not burn any of the cities built on their mounds, except for Hazor alone. The Israelites took all the spoil and livestock from these cities for themselves, but every person was put to the sword until all were destroyed. Joshua carried out everything the Lord had commanded Moses. He left nothing undone. He took all the land, the mountain regions, the entire Negeb, all the land of Goshen, the foothills, the Arabah, and the mountains and lowlands of Israel. His conquests stretched from Mount Halak, which rises toward Seir, to Balgad in the Lebanon Valley at the foot of Mount Hermon. He captured all their kings and put them to death. Joshua waged war against all these kings for a long time, except for the Hivites who lived in Gibeon. No city made peace with the Israelites. All were taken in battle. This was the Lord's doing. He hardened their hearts so they would come against Israel in war and be completely destroyed without mercy, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. During this time, Joshua also went into the hill country and destroyed the Anakim in Hebron, Dobir, Anab, and throughout the hill country of Judah and Israel. He put them and their cities under the ban. None of the Anakim were left in the land of the Israelites, though a few remained in Gaza, Gath, and Asad, Dud. So Joshua took the entire land, just as the Lord had promised Moses. He gave it to Israel as their inheritance, dividing it among the tribes, and the land had rest from war. Chapter 12. These are the kings of the land whom the Israelites conquered and whose territories they occupied, east of the Jordan River, from the Arnon Gorge to Mount Hermon, including the eastern region of the Arabah. The first was Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon. His domain stretched from Aroer on the edge of the Wadi Arnon, including the middle of the wadi itself, and extended northward through half of Gilead to the Wadi Jabbok, the border of the Ammonites. It also included the eastern Arabah from the Sea of Chinnereth southward to the eastern side of the Salt Sea, toward Beth Jeshemoth, and further south to the slopes of Pisgah. The second was Og, king of Bashan, one of the last of the Rephaim, who lived in Asheroth and Edrei. He ruled over Mount Hermon, Solikah, and all of Bashan, as far as the border of the Geshurites and Maacathites, and over half of Gilead to the territory of Sihon, king of Heshbon. It was Moses, the servant of the Lord, along with the Israelites, who conquered these two kings. Moses gave the conquered lands to the tribes of Reuben and Gad, and to the half-tribe of Manasseh as their inheritance, west of the Jordan. Joshua and the Israelites conquered more kings from Balgad in the valley of Lebanon to Mount Halak, which rises toward Seir. Joshua apportioned these lands to the tribes of Israel. The conquered regions included the mountain country, the western foothills, the Arabah, the slopes, the wilderness, and the Negeb. These lands had been inhabited by the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. The list of conquered kings includes the king of Jericho, the king of Ai near Bethel, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon, the king of Gezer, the king of Gedor, the king of Gedor, the king of Hormah, the king of Arad, the king of Libnah, the king of Adullam, the king of Makkedah, the king of Bethel, the king of Tappuah, the king of Hepher, the king of Aphek, the king of Lasharon, the king of Madon, the king of Hazor, the king of Shimron Meron, the king of Akshaph, the king of Tanach, the king of Megiddo, the king of Kedesh, the king of Joknim in Carmel, the king of Dor in Naphthdor, the king of Goyim in Gilgal, and the king of Tirzah, 31 kings in all. Chapter 13. When Joshua had grown old, the Lord spoke to him, saying, Though you are now advanced in years, there is still a vast portion of the land that remains to be possessed. The remaining land included all of Geshur and the regions of the Philistines, from the stream that borders Egypt up to the northern boundary of Ekron. This area was still considered Canaanite territory, though occupied by the 5 lords of the Philistines in Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. It also included the land of the Avim in the south, all the Canaanite territory from Mira, which belongs to the Sidonians, to Aphek, and the boundaries of the Amorites, the Jebelite territory, and the whole region of Lebanon to the east from Baalgad at the foot of Mount Hermon to Lebo. The Lord promised, I will drive out all the inhabitants of these mountain regions between Lebanon and Misrephothmaim, including all the Sidonians, before the Israelites. You must include these areas in the division of the land as an inheritance for Israel, just as I have commanded. The Lord instructed Joshua to apportion the land among the 9 tribes and the half-tribe of Manasseh. The other half of the tribe of Manasseh, along with the tribes of Reuben and Gad, had already received their inheritance east of the Jordan, which Moses, the servant of the Lord, had granted them. Their territory extended from Aroer on the edge of the Wadi Arnon and the city within the wadi itself, through the tableland around Medeba and Dibon, and included the rest of the kingdom of Sihon, the Amorite king who reigned in Heshbon, up to the border of the Ammonites. It also encompassed Gilead, the lands of the Geshurites and Maacathites, all of Mount Hermon, and all of Bashan as far as Salakah. This included the entire kingdom of Og in Bashan, who ruled from Asheroth and Edrei. He was one of the last of the Rephaim, and Moses had defeated and dispossessed him. However, the Israelites did not drive out the Geshurites and Maacathites completely. To this day, they live among the people of Israel. Moses gave no land inheritance to the tribe of Levi, for the Lord, the God of Israel, was their inheritance, just as he had promised to the tribe of Reuben, according to their clans. Moses gave a territory that extended from Aroer on the edge of the Wadi Arnon and the city within the wadi itself, across the tableland of Medeba. It included Heshbon and all the towns on the tableland Dibon, Bamoth-Baal, Beth-Balmeon, Jahaz, Kidamath, Mephoth, Kiriathim, Sibmah, Zereth-Shahar, on the hill in the valley, Beth-Peor, the slopes of Pisgah, and Beth-Jeshimoth. These were all the cities on the tableland and part of the former kingdom of Sihon, whom Moses had defeated, along with the princes of Midian-Evi. Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Rebahu had ruled under Sihon. Balaam, son of Beor, the diviner, was also killed by the Israelites during that campaign. The boundary of the Reubenites was the Jordan River. These cities and their villages formed the inheritance of the Reubenite clans to the tribe of Gad, according to their clans. Moses gave territory that included Jazer, all the cities of Gilead, and half the land of the Ammonites, as far as Arawar near Rabbah. This land stretched from Heshbon to Ramoth Mespah and Betnam, and from Mahanaim to the border of Lodabar. In the Jordan Valley, it included Beth-Haram, Beth-Nimrah, Sukkot, Zaphon, and the rest of the kingdom of Sihon, king of Heshbon, with the Jordan River as their western border, down to the southeastern tip of the Sea of Chinnereth. These cities and their surrounding villages were the inheritance of the Gadot clans to the half-tribe of Manasseh. Moses gave territory that included Mahanaim, all of Bashan, the entire kingdom of Og in Bashan, and all the villages of Jair in Bashan, 60 cities in all, half of Gilead, along with Ashtaroth and Edrei, the royal cities of Oji in Bashan, was given to the descendants of Machur, son of Manasseh. This was the inheritance of half the Meshurat clan. These were the inheritances Moses distributed while he was in the plains of Moab, east of the Jordan River, across from Jericho. However, Moses gave no inheritance to the tribe of Levi. Instead, the Lord, the God of Israel, was their inheritance, just as he had promised them. Chapter 14. These are the portions of land that the Israelites received as their heritage in the land of Canaan. Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the heads of the ancestral families of the Israelite tribes were responsible for distributing these inheritances. The division of the land among the remaining 9.5 tribes was determined by casting lots, just as the Lord had commanded through Moses. Moses had already given land east of the Jordan River to 2.5 tribes. However, the Levites received no inheritance of land like the other tribes. Instead, they were given cities to live in along with pasture lands for their livestock and herds. The descendants of Joseph formed 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. So, even with the Levites excluded, the number of allotted tribal territories remained 12. The Israelites followed the Lord's instructions to Moses and divided the land. Accordingly, when the men of the tribe of Judah came to Joshua in Gilgal, Caleb, the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, spoke up. He said to Joshua, "You remember what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, about you and me in Kadesh Barnea. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to scout the land, and I returned with an honest report. But the others who went with me discouraged the people and caused them to lose heart. As for me, I remained completely loyal to the Lord my God. Because of that, Moses made a promise on that day, saying, 'The land on which your foot has walked will become your inheritance, and that of your descendants forever, because you have remained loyal to the Lord.' Now, here I am, 45 years later, and the Lord has kept me alive, just as he promised. It has been 45 years since Moses spoke those words, while Israel was still wandering in the wilderness. I am now 85 years old, but I am as strong today as I was when Moses sent me out. My strength for battle and for daily tasks has not diminished, so now, please give me the hill country the Lord promised me that day. You heard yourself then that the Anakim were there, with their large fortified cities. But if the Lord is with me, I will drive them out, just as he said." Joshua blessed Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and gave him Hebron as his inheritance. And to this day, Hebron has remained the inheritance of Caleb, because he remained wholeheartedly faithful to the Lord, the God of Israel. Hebron was formerly known as Kiriath Arba, named after Arba, the greatest among the Anakim. And with the land thus allotted, there was peace, rest from war. Chapter 15. The territory assigned to the tribe of Judah by its clans extended toward the land of Edom, reaching into the wilderness of Zin in the far south. Within the Negeb, their southern boundary began at the southern tip of the Salt Sea, running from the tongue of the sea, facing the Negeb, proceeding southward, past the ascent of Akrabim, continuing through Zin, and moving up south of Kadesh Barnea. From there, it crossed to Hezron, ascended to Adar, curved around to Karka, then continued to Asman, and joined the Wadi of Egypt, eventually reaching the sea. This marked their southern border. The eastern boundary was the entire length of the Salt Sea up to the mouth of the Jordan River. The northern boundary began at the northern tip of the Salt Sea, ascending to Bethagla and passing north of Beth-Barabah. It climbed to the stone of Bohan, a descendant of Reuben, continued up to Dobir, and turned north of the valley of Acre, heading toward Gilgal, across from the ascent of Adamium, on the south side of the Wadi. It then moved to the waters of En-Shemesh and came out at En-Rogel. From there, it climbed through the valley of Ben-Hinnom, south of the Jebusite city, Jerusalem, rising to the top of the hill on the western edge of the valley of Rephaim. It reached the spring of Nephtoah, extended toward the towns on Mount Ephron, and continued to Bala, also called Kirioth Jearim. From there, it curved westward toward Mount Seir, passed along the northern slope of Mount Jearim Chesalon, descended to Beth-Shemesh, and crossed to Timnah. It then continued along the northern slope of Ekron, moved toward Shikaron, passed through Mount Bala, reached Jabneel, and eventually came out at the sea. The western boundary was the coastline of the Great Sea. This completed the territory assigned to the tribe of Judah according to their clans. As the Lord had commanded, Joshua gave Caleb son of Jephunneh a portion among the people of Judah, Kirioth Arba, also known as Hebron, named after Arba, the forefather of the Anakim. Caleb drove out from the region the 3 Anakite giants, Shishai, Ahiman, and Talmai. From there, he marched against the people of Debir, which was formerly called Kirioth-Sephor. Caleb declared that whoever captured Kirioth-Sephor would receive his daughter Aksa as a wife. Othniel, son of Caleb's brother Kenaz, captured it, so Caleb gave him Aksa in marriage. When she came to Othniel, she persuaded him to ask her father for a piece of land. As she got off her donkey, Caleb asked her what she wanted. She requested a special gift, saying, "You gave me land in the Negeb, now give me also springs of water." So Caleb granted her both the upper and lower springs. The following were the towns of the tribe of Judah by their clans. In the southernmost area toward Edom were Kabzeel, Edor, Jagar, Kina, Damana, Adada, Kedesh, Hazor, Ithnan, Ziph, Telem Beloth, Hazor Hadita, Karioth Hezron, that is, Hazor, Amam, Shema, Malada, Hazogada, Heshman, Beth Pelet, Hazor Shuel, Beersheba, Beziathia, Bala, Ezem, Eltalad, Chesel, Horma, Ziklag, Madmana, Sansana, Labouth, Shilhim, Ain, and Ramona, total of 29 cities with their surrounding villages. In the Shephelah lowland region were Ishtal, Zorah, Ashna, Zanoah, Inganum, Charmeth, Adullam, Sako, Azekah, Sharam, Adatum, Gedera, and Gederotum 14 towns with their villages. Also included were Zenon, Hadasha, Migdalgad, Delin, Mespe, Joktheel, Lachish, Bozkath, Eglon, Cabin, Lamas, Chitlish, Gederoth, Beth Dagon, Nama, and Makkedes 16 towns with their villages. Libnah, Ether, Ashan, Ifta, Ashna, Nezib, Exib, and Mareshah made up 9 towns and their villages. Ekron, with its towns and villages, and all the settlements from Ekron to the sea, including those near Ashdod and their villages, as well as Ashdod and Gaza with their towns and villages, extending to the Wadi of Egypt and the coast of the Great Sea. In the hill country were Shamir, Jatir, Sako, Dana Kiryathsana, that is, Dobir, Anab, Eshtemo, Anim, Goshen, Holon, and Giloah 11 towns and their villages. Also included were Arab, Duma, Eshan, Janim, Beth Tappuah, Afika, Humta, Kiriotharba, Hebron, and Zior 9 towns and their villages. Maon, Carmel, Ziph, Judah, Jezreel, Jokdeam, Zanoah, Cain, Gibeah, and Timnah towns and their villages. Halhel, Bethser, Gedor, Merith, Bethanoth, and Eltekon 6 towns and their villages. Additional towns included Tekoa, Bethlehem, Peor, Etam, Kulam, Tatum, Zors, Karim, Galam, Bether, and Manok 11 towns and their villages. Kiriothbaal, Kiriothbu, and Rabbatu towns and their villages. In the wilderness region were Betharabah, Midden, Sakaka, Nibshan, Irhamila, and Engedi 6 towns with their surrounding villages. However, the people of Judah were not able to drive out the Jebusites living in Jerusalem. To this day, the Jebusites live there among the people of Judah. Chapter 16. The land assigned to the descendants of Joseph stretched from the Jordan River at Jericho, including the waters of Jericho, to the east in the wilderness. From there, the boundary rose from Jericho into the hill country, reaching the area around Bethel. It continued from Bethel to Luz, then extended across the ridge to the border of the Arkites at Ataroth. From there, it descended westward to the territory of the Japhletites, passed through Lower Beth-horon and Gezer, and finally reached the Mediterranean Sea. Among the descendants of Joseph specifically, the tribes of Manasseh and Ephraim, the land was divided. The inheritance of the Ephraimites by their clans began east of Atarothadar and extended to Upper Beth-horon, then on to the sea. From Mikmethoth in the north, the boundary curved eastward to Tonath Shiloh, passed to the east of that town, and continued to Genoa. It then descended through Ataroth and Nara, reached Jericho, and ended at the Jordan River from the town of Tappuah. The border ran westward to the Wadi Kana and reached the sea. This land was the designated inheritance for the tribe of Ephraim by their clans. Additionally, there were towns within the territory allotted to the tribe of Manasseh that were set aside for Ephraim, including their surrounding villages. However, the Ephraimites did not drive out the Canaanites who lived in Gezer. To this day, the Canaanites live among them, though they have been subjected to forced labor. Chapter 17. The territory allotted to the tribe of Manasseh, the firstborn of Joseph, reflected their status and history. Machir, Manasseh's eldest son and father of Gilead, had already taken possession of the regions of Gilead and Bashan due to his reputation as a warrior. The rest of the inheritance was distributed among the remaining clans of Manasseh's descendants of Abiezer, Helek, Azrael, Shechem, Hepher, and Shemaiah, the other male children of Manasseh, among them Zelophehad, son of Hepher, and a descendant of Machir, had no sons, only daughters, Mala, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. These women approached Eleazar, the priest, Joshua, son of Nun, and the leaders of Israel, reminding them of the command the Lord had given Moses, that they, too, should receive a portion of the inheritance among their male relatives. In obedience to the Lord's command, they were granted a share alongside their father's kin. As a result, Manasseh received 10 shares, in addition to Gilead and Bashan beyond the Jordan. These daughters received their inheritance, just as the sons did, and the land of Gilead went to the rest of the Manassites. Manasseh's western border began near Asher, at Mikmethoth near Shechem, and ran south toward Entapua. Though the land around Tapua belonged to Manasseh, the city itself was part of Ephraim. The boundary continued down to the Wadi Kana, with the cities south of the wadi assigned to Ephraim, even though they were within the larger region of Manasseh. This arrangement made the wadi a natural divider. Ephraim's territory lay to the south, Manasseh's to the north, stretching westward to the Mediterranean Sea to the north. Manasseh bordered Asher, and to the east, Issach, within the lands of Issachar and Asher. Manasseh also received several towns and their surrounding villages, including Bethshean, Eblamdor, Ender, Tanach, and Megiddo. However, the Manassites were unable to fully drive out the Canaanite inhabitants from these cities, and so the Canaanites continued to live there. Later, when the Israelites grew stronger, they subjected the Canaanites to forced labor, though they still did not completely remove them from the land. At one point, the descendants of Joseph approached Joshua with a complaint. "Why have you given us only one portion as our inheritance? We are a numerous people, blessed by the Lord." Joshua replied, "If you are indeed so numerous, then go up into the forested hill country and clear land for yourselves there, in the territory of the Perizzites and Rephaim, since the hill country of Ephraim seems too confined for you." Still, the Josephites protested, pointing out that the valley areas were occupied by Canaanites with powerful iron chariots, especially in Bethshean and the Jezreel Valley. But Joshua stood firm, saying to the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh, "You are a large and powerful people. You will not be limited to only one portion. The forested hill country shall also be yours once you clear it, and you will claim its surrounding lands. Though the Canaanites are strong and possess iron chariots, you will drive them out." Chapter 18. The entire community of the Israelites gathered at Shiloh, where they set up the tent of meeting, for the land had finally been subdued before them. However, 7 of the Israelite tribes had not yet received their share of the land. Joshua addressed the people, asking, "How much longer will you delay in taking possession of the land the Lord, the God of your ancestors, has given you? Choose 3 men from each tribe. I will send them out to explore the land and describe it for the purpose of dividing it into heritages. When they return, you will divide it into 7 portions. Judah will remain in the south, and the house of Joseph will retain its territory in the north. Bring me a written description of the 7 parts, and I will cast lots for you here before the Lord our God." He reminded them that the Levites would receive no land, as their inheritance was the priesthood of the Lord. Gad, Reuben, and the half-tribe of Manasseh had already received their inheritance on the east side of the Jordan, which Moses, the servant of the Lord, had given them. When the representatives were ready to go, Joshua instructed them to travel throughout the land, write a description of it in 7 parts, and return to him at the camp in Shiloh. The men did as commanded, and when they returned, Joshua cast lots for the land before the Lord, dividing it among the remaining tribes. The first lot fell to the tribe of Benjamin by their clans. Their territory lay between that of Judah to the south, and Joseph to the north. The northern boundary began at the Jordan, past the northern slope of Jericho, and climbed westward into the hill country until it reached the wilderness of Bethaven. From there it crossed to the southern slope of Luz, which is Bethel, and went down to Adarothadar, on the hill that lies south of Lower Beth-horon. The western border curved from the hill near Beth-horon and extended to Kiriath-baal, a city of Judah. The southern boundary began at the edge of Kiriath-jearim and went to the spring of Nephtoah. From there it descended the slope of the hill on the northern side of the valley of Rephaim, continued through the valley of Ben-Hinnom, along the southern slope of the Jebusite city, and reached Enrogel. The boundary then curved northward, continued to En-shemesh, and extended to Galilith near the ascent of Adimam. It dropped down to the stone of Bohan, son of Reuben, crossed the northern slope of the Arabah overlook, and descended into the Arabah. From there it continued along the northern slope of Beth-hoglah and ended at the northern tip of the Salt Sea, at the southern end of the Jordan. The Jordan River itself formed the eastern boundary. This was the complete border of the inheritance of the tribe of Benjamin, according to its clans. The cities belonging to the tribe of Benjamin included Jericho, Beth-hoglah, Emekkezes, Beth-arabah, Zemarem, Bethel, Avim, Para, Afra, Chepramoni, Ophni, and Geba, total of 12. Cities with their surrounding villages. Also included were Gibeon, Ramah, Beeroth, Mespe, Shafira, Moza, Rechem, Irpeel, Tarala, Selah, Heleph, the Jebusite city, which is Jerusalem, Jibbah, and Kiriath, 14 cities in all, with their surrounding villages. This completed the inheritance of the clans of the tribe of Benjamin. Chapter 19. The second lot fell to the tribe of Simeon, and their inheritance was set within the territory of the Judahites. The Simeonites received several towns and villages as their portion, including Beersheba, Shema, Malada, Hazorshul, Bala, Esem, Eltalad, Bethul, Hormah, Ziklag, Beth-markaboth, Hazar-susa, Beth-lebaoth, and Sharon, 13 cities in total, along with their surrounding villages. Additionally, they received Ain, Rimmon, Ether, and Ashenfor, cities with their villages. All these settlements extended as far as Balathbeer, also known as Ramoth-Negeb, because the territory allotted to the tribe of Judah was too large. For them, the Simeonites received their portion of land within it. The third lot fell to the tribe of Zebulun. Their territory began at Sarid and extended westward through Mariel to Dabbesheth, reaching the wadi near Jokneam. From Sarid it turned eastward to Chisleth-Tabor, passed through Daberath, and up to Japhia. Then it continued east to Gathfer, and Ethkazin, extended to Reman, and turned toward Ne. The border curved north of Hanathan and ended in the valley of Iftal. Within this territory were the cities of Katath, Nahala, Shimron, Idalah, and Bethlehem, 12 cities with their villages. This was the inheritance of the tribe of Zebulun by their clans. The fourth lot fell to the tribe of Issachar. Their inheritance included Jezreel, Chesulloth, Shunem, Hapharam, Shan, Unaharath, Rabbath, Kishon, Ebez, Rameth, Inganem, Inhada, and Beth-Patzez. The border reached Tabor, Shahazuma, and Beth-Shemesh, ending at the Jordan River. In all, there were 16 cities with their villages, forming the inheritance of the Issacharites by their clans. The fifth lot fell to the tribe of Asher. Their inheritance included Helkath, Holly-Beton, Akshaph, Alamelech, and Mishal. The border reached Carmel to the west and Sheh-Horlibneth. In another direction, it ran east of Beth-Dagon, touched Zebulun, and extended into the valley of Iftahel. Then, going north of Beth-Emek and Nile, it stretched to Kabul, Ebron, Rehob, Hammon, and Cana, near Greater Sidon. From there, the border turned back to Ramah and the fortress city of Tyre, then curved back to Hosa and ended at the sea. Included in the territory were Maholab, Aksib, Amma, Akko, Aphek, and Rehob, 22 cities in total with their villages. This was the inheritance of the Asherites by their clans. The sixth lot fell to the tribe of Naphtali. Their territory extended from Heleph, from the oak at Zonanim, including Adami-Nekeb and Jabneel, as far as Lacom, ending at the Jordan. Heading west, the border passed through Aznoth Tabor, continued to Hukkok, and met the territories of Zebulun to the south, Asher to the west, and the Jordan River to the east. Their fortified cities included Ziddim, Zur, Hamath, Rakoth, Chinnereth, Adama, Ramah, Hazor, Kedesh, Edra, En-Hazor, Yeren, Migdalel, Horem, Bethanoth, and Beth-Shemesh, 9 cities with their villages. This formed the inheritance of the Naphtalites by their clans. The seventh lot fell to the tribe of Dan. Their inheritance included the cities of Zorah, Eshtaol, Irshemesh, Shalabin, Ithla, Ilon, Timnah, Ekron, Eltekeh, Gibbethon, Balath, Jehud, Benabarak, Gathrimmon, Majarkan, and Rakan, with the coastline at Joppa. However, the territory of Dan proved too small for them. So the Danites marched north, attacked Lashem, captured it, and put it to the sword. After taking possession of it, they settled there and renamed the city Dan after their ancestor. This was the inheritance of the tribe of Dan by their clans, including all these cities and their villages. After the land had been divided among the tribes, the Israelites assigned a special portion to Joshua, son of Nun, in accordance with the Lord's command. They gave him the city he had requested Timnah. In the hill country of Ephraim, he rebuilt the city and made it his home. These were the inheritances assigned by Eleazar, the priest, Joshua, son of Nun, and the heads of the Israelite tribes. They distributed the land by casting lots in the presence of the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting in Shiloh. With this, the division of the land was complete. Chapter 20. The Lord spoke to Joshua and said, "Tell the Israelites to designate for themselves the cities of refuge, just as I instructed Moses. These cities are to serve as places of asylum for anyone who kills another unintentionally or without prior malice. Anyone guilty of such a death may flee to one of these cities to escape the avenger of blood. When the accused reaches the entrance of one of these cities, they must present their case before the city elders standing at the gate. The elders are to receive the person into the city and provide a place for them to live among them, even if the avenger of blood pursues the killer. The city must not hand over the one who killed unintentionally, especially since there was no prior hatred between them. The person must remain in that city until they stand trial before the assembly, and until the death of the high priest who is serving at that time. After the high priest dies, the individual may return home to the city from which they had fled. So the Israelites set apart the following cities as places of refuge: Kadesh in Galilee, located in the hill country of Naphtali; Shechem in the hill country of Ephraim; and Kiriath Arba, that is, Hebron, in the hill country of Judah, east of the Jordan, across from Jericho. They designated Bezar in the wilderness plateau of the tribe of Reuben, Ramoth in Gilead from the tribe of Gad, and Golan in Bashan belonging to the tribe of Manasseh. These were the cities appointed for any Israelite or foreigner residing among them who had killed someone unintentionally. These cities provided a place to flee for safety from the avenger of blood, offering protection until the accused could stand trial before the community. Chapter 21. The heads of the Levite families approached Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the heads of the families of the Israelite tribes at Shiloh in the land of Canaan. They said to them, "The Lord commanded through Moses that we be given cities to live in, along with pasture lands for our livestock." In response to the Lord's command, the Israelites gave the Levites cities with their surrounding pasture lands from their own inheritance. The first lot among the Levites went to the clans of the Kohathites. The descendants of Aaron the priest received 13 cities by lot from the tribes of Judah, Simeon, and Benjamin. The remaining Kohathites received 10 cities by lot from the tribes of Ephraim, Dan, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. The Gershonites received 13 cities from the tribes of Issachar, Asher, Naphtali, and the other half-tribe of Manasseh in Bashan. The Merarites received 12 cities from the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and Zebulun. These cities, with their pasture lands, were given to the Levites by lot, as the Lord had commanded through Moses. From the tribes of Judah and Simeon, they gave cities to the descendants of Aaron from the Kohathite clan of the Levites, since the first lot fell to them. These included Kiriotharba, that is Hebron, in the hill country of Judah, with surrounding pasture lands. However, the open country and villages around Hebron had been given to Caleb, son of Jephunneh, as his inheritance. To the descendants of Aaron the priest, they gave the city of refuge for those guilty of homicide, Hebronal with pasture lands, and also the cities of Libnah, Jatir, Eshtemoa, Holon, Debir, Ain, Judah, and Bethshemesh, each with its pasture lands. 9 cities from these 2 tribes. From the tribe of Benjamin, they received Gibeon, Gibeah, Anathoth, and Almoni, each with its pasture lands, 4 cities in total, altogether. The priestly descendants of Aaron received 13 cities with their pasture lands. The rest of the Kohathite clans received 4 cities from the tribe of Ephraim, the city of refuge, Shechem, in the hill country of Ephraim, along with Gezer, Kibzaim, and Beth-horon, all with pasture lands. From the tribe of Dan, they received Eltek, Gibbethon, Aijalon, and Gathrimmon. From the half-tribe of Manasseh, they received Tanach and Gathrimmon. These 10 cities were given to the rest of the Kohathites with their pasture lands. The clan of the Levites received from the half-tribe of Manasseh the city of refuge Golan in Bashan and Beth. From the tribe of Issachar, they received Kishon, Daberath, Jarmuth, and Enganim. From the tribe of Asher, they received Mishal, Abdon, Helkath, and Rehob. From the tribe of Naphtali, they received the city of refuge Kedesh in Galilee, along with Hamath and Kartan. These 13 cities, with their pasture lands, were assigned to the Gershonites. The Merarite clans, the last of the Levites, received Jokni, Karta, Dimnah, and Nahalo from the tribe of Zebulun. From the tribe of Reuben, across the Jordan, they received the city of refuge Bezer, along with Jahaz, Kiddemoth, and Mepoth. From the tribe of Gad, they received the city of refuge Ramoth in Gilead, along with Mahanaim, Heshbon, and Jazer. These 12 cities with their pasture lands completed the allotment to the Merarite clans. In total, the Levites received 48 cities with their pasture lands from among the territories of the Israelites. Each of these cities included surrounding pasture lands, so the Lord gave Israel all the land he had sworn to give their ancestors. They took possession of it and settled there. The Lord gave them peace on every side, just as he had promised. Not one of their enemies could stand against them. The Lord delivered them all into their hands. Not one of all the Lord's good promises to Israel failed. Every one was fulfilled. Chapter 22. At that time, Joshua summoned the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. He said to them, "You have obeyed all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, and you have followed my instructions in everything I asked of you. For many years now, right up to this day. You have not deserted your fellow Israelites, but have faithfully carried out the commands of the Lord your God. Now that the Lord your God has granted rest to your fellow Israelites, just as he promised, you may return to your homes in the land that Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you across the Jordan. But be very careful to observe the commandment and the law that Moses gave you, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, to keep his commandments, to hold fast to him, and to serve him with all your heart and soul." Then Joshua blessed them and sent them on their way, and they returned to their homes. To the half-tribe of Manasseh, Moses had given land in Bashan, and to the other half, Joshua had given land with their fellow Israelites west of the Jordan. When Joshua sent them home, he blessed them and said, "Return to your homes with your great wealth, with large herds of livestock, silver, gold, bronze, iron, and a great quantity of clothing, and divide the spoils of your enemies with your fellow Israelites, which had been given to them according to the Lord's command through Moses, when they came to the region near the Jordan in Canaan. The Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh built a large and impressive altar there by the Jordan. When the rest of the Israelites heard what they had done, they said, 'The Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh have built an altar near the Jordan, across from the land of Canaan, in the region belonging to Israel.' Upon hearing this, the whole assembly of Israel gathered at Shiloh, ready to go to war against them. The Israelites sent Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the priest, to Gilead to confront the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. Along with him, they sent 10 leaders, one from each of the tribes of Israel, each a head of a family. When they arrived, they said to them, 'This is what the whole community of the Lord says. What is this unfaithful act you have committed against the God of Israel? You have turned away from following the Lord by building this altar. Was the sin at Peor not enough for us? Even to this day we still feel its effects, and yet you would now add to our guilt. If you turn away from the Lord today, tomorrow his anger will fall on the entire community of Israel. If you think your land is defiled, then come over to the Lord's land, where his tabernacle stands, and share it with us. But do not rebel against the Lord or against us by building an altar other than the one belonging to him. Remember what happened to Achan, son of Zerah, who was unfaithful in regard to the things set apart for destruction. His punishment affected the whole community, even though he was only one man. The Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh answered the leaders of Israel, saying, "The Lord, the God of gods, knows. Let Israel know too, if we have rebelled or acted unfaithfully against the Lord. Do not spare us, If we built our altar to turn away from the Lord, or to offer sacrifices upon it, may the Lord himself hold us accountable. But the truth is, we did this out of concern. We feared that in the future your children might say to ours, "What part do you have in the Lord, the God of Israel? The Lord made the Jordan a boundary between you and us." Your children might say we have no share in the Lord and try to cut off our descendants from worshiping him. So we said, "Let us build an altar not for burnt offerings or sacrifices, but as a witness between us and you and the generations after us. This altar will remind us that we too have the right to worship the Lord with our offerings and sacrifices. Then your descendants cannot say to ours, 'You have no share in the Lord.' And if they do say that in the future, we can point to this replica of the Lord's altar as a testimony of unity. We have not built it for offerings or sacrifices, but as a witness between us. Far be it from us to rebel against the Lord by building another altar for offerings, grain, or sacrifices besides the one that stands before his tabernacle." When Phinehas the priest and the Israelite leaders heard their response, they were satisfied. Phinehas said, "Today we know that the Lord is among us, because you have not been unfaithful to him. In doing this, you have rescued the Israelites from his wrath." Then Phinehas and the leaders returned from Gilead to Canaan and reported everything to the Israelites. The Israelites were pleased and praised God. They decided not to go to war or destroy the land where the Reubenites and Gadites lived. The Reubenites and Gadites gave the altar a name that means a witness between us that the Lord is God. Chapter 23. Many years later, after the Lord had given the Israelites rest from all their enemies around them, and when Joshua was old and advanced in years, he summoned all of Israel, the elders, leaders, judges, and officers, and addressed them, "I am now very old, and you yourselves have seen everything the Lord your God has done for you against all these nations. It was the Lord your God who fought for you. I have allotted to your tribes, as their inheritance, all the remaining nations, along with those I already destroyed, from the Jordan to the great sea in the west. The Lord your God himself will push them back before you and drive them out of your way. You will take possession of their land, just as the Lord your God promised you. So be strong. Be careful to observe everything written in the book of the law of Moses. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left. Do not associate with the nations that remain among you. Do not invoke the names of their gods, swear by them, serve them, or bow down to them. Instead, cling to the Lord your God, as you have done up to this day. The Lord has driven out powerful and large nations before you, and no one has been able to stand against you. One of you can rout 1,000, because the Lord your God fights for you, just as he promised. Therefore, be very careful to love the Lord your God. But if you turn away and ally yourselves with the survivors of these nations that remain among you, intermarrying and associating with them, know for certain that the Lord your God will no longer drive them out before you. Instead, they will become snares and traps for you, whips on your backs and thorns in your eyes, until you perish from this good land the Lord your God has given you. Now, I am about to go the way of all the earth. You know in your hearts and souls that not one of all the good promises the Lord your God gave you has failed. Every promise has been fulfilled. Not one has failed. But just as every good promise the Lord your God has made to you has come true, So will the Lord bring upon you every warning and disaster if you break the covenant of the Lord your God. If you go and serve other gods and bow down to them, the Lord's anger will burn against you, and you will quickly perish from the good land he has given you. Chapter 24. Joshua gathered all the tribes of Israel at Shechem. He summoned the elders, leaders, judges, and officers of Israel, and they stood in ranks before God. Then Joshua spoke to all the people. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Long ago, your ancestors Terah, the father of Abraham and Nar, lived beyond the Euphrates River and worshipped other gods. But I took your father Abraham from that land and led him throughout Canaan. I made his descendants many and gave him Isaac. To Isaac I gave Jacob and Esau. I gave the hill country of Seir to Esau, while Jacob and his sons went down to Egypt. Then I sent Moses and Aaron, and I afflicted Egypt with many plagues and signs. After that, I brought your ancestors out. When I brought them out of Egypt, and they reached the sea, the Egyptians pursued them with chariots and horsemen. But when your ancestors cried out to me, I placed darkness between you and the Egyptians, and brought the sea over them, covering them. You saw what I did in Egypt, and afterward you lived in the wilderness for a long time. I brought you to the land of the Amorites, who lived east of the Jordan. They fought against you, but I gave them into your hands, and you took possession of their land. Then Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab, rose to fight against Israel and summoned Balaam, son of Beor, to curse you. But I refused to listen to Balaam, and instead he blessed you. I delivered you from his hand when you crossed the Jordan and came to Jericho. The citizens of Jericho fought against you, as did the Amorites, Perizzites, Canaanites, Hittites, Girgashites, Hivites, and Jebusites. But I gave them all into your hands. I sent the hornets ahead of you, and they drove out your enemies before you not by your sword or your bow. I gave you a land you had not tilled, and cities you had not built, and you live in them. You eat from vineyards and olive groves that you did not plant. Now, therefore, fear the Lord and serve him with all faithfulness. Throw away the gods your ancestors worshipped beyond the Euphrates and in Egypt, and serve the Lord alone. But if it is displeasing to you to serve the Lord, then choose this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your ancestors served beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you now live. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. The people replied, Far be it from us to forsake the Lord and serve other gods. It was the Lord our God who brought us and our ancestors out of slavery in Egypt. He performed great signs before our eyes, protected us on our journey, and drove out all the peoples, including the Amorites. We will serve the Lord, for he is our God. Joshua warned the people, You may not be able to serve the Lord. He is a holy and jealous God. He will not forgive your rebellion and sins. If you forsake the Lord and serve foreign gods, he will turn and bring disaster upon you, after all the good he has done for you. But the people answered, No, we will serve the Lord. Joshua said, You are witnesses against yourselves that you have chosen to serve the Lord. And they responded, We are witnesses. Now then, Joshua continued, Throw away the foreign gods among you, and turn your hearts to the Lord, the God of Israel. The people declared, We will serve the Lord our God and obey him. So Joshua made a covenant with the people that day at Shechem, and he established laws and decrees for them. He recorded these words in the book of the law of God. Then he took a large stone and set it up under the oak tree near the sanctuary of the Lord. He said to all the people, "This stone will be a witness against us. It has heard all the words the Lord has spoken to us. It will stand as a witness, so that you do not deny your God." Then Joshua dismissed the people, each to their own inheritance. After these events, Joshua, son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110. He was buried in the land of his inheritance at Timnath-Serah, in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gaash. Israel served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua and the elders, who outlived him and had experienced all the works the Lord had done for Israel. The bones of Joseph, which the Israelites had brought from Egypt, were buried at Shechem in the tract of land Jacob had bought from the sons of Hamor. This land became the inheritance of Joseph's descendants. Eli, the son of Aaron, also died and was buried at Gibeah, the land given to his son Phinehas in the hill country of Ephraim,